For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Sashni Medley. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Welcome, Professor. Now, the DA held its Federal Congress this past weekend. What did you think of DA leader Mmusi Maimane's opening speech?
I was quite impressed. I'm not about to join the DA, but I was quite impressed in the sense that he talks, look, a lot of this American show, it's modeled on the American way of campaigning, all of this. But he has a way of relating to the different components of the DA. And he's also got some short phrases that are quite good. Like that one he had beginning, if you don't see my color, you don't see me. A few of these things. So I was fairly impressed with that speech. But, it was very generalized, so that it wasn't really the meat of the Congress.
Now, talking about the leadership that was elected there, the DA has been very vocal about diversity in its organization. Yet they decided against racial quotas, and there was only one black woman in the top leadership position. Was this a good strategy for them?
Well, the way of realizing diversity there can be more than one way of realizing it. But the reasoning that the ANC has advanced, and people have advanced always, for affirmative action has been that unless you force people, women and black people don't get the chances. For example, in the legal profession, black lawyers don't come with the social capital that white lawyers come with, so that they don't get briefs so easily from attorneys, they don't have old boys networks and all of that. So they actually need an advantage to overcome the disadvantages. Now, in the case of the DA, the rejection of quotas in the resolution, all of it is very muddied. It's not very clear what everyone claims to be happy on all sides. And I think it was Makashule Ghana said it yesterday, something to the effect that it's now up to us to implement it and make these things have meaning. Now, what he wants to make it mean may not be the same as Gavin Davis and Cardo, and it depends on the what the support base does. And what I think is quite interesting is that most of the provincial leaders are black in the DA. On the other hand, the most important controlling factors, structures, like the national management structure, has got, I think, 5 whites and 1 black person, Mmusi Maimane. So they've got a very tight, whites have got a tight hold on the party. But the future of the DA depends, if they want to ever win elections, depends on drawing in black people. And the way the Congress went, people were singing songs that have been appropriated from the ANC, slogans that have been appropriated from the ANC. And I think some of these people do come from the ANC, and they really want the DA to be what ANC is no longer. So I'm not sure that anything was decisive in this Congress, and my belief is that there is a lot of unhappiness amongst black members of the DA about underrepresentation of branches and things like that, which I've mentioned before. For example, the Soweto, I don't think there's a single Soweto branch representative. Of course, you've got to have a public representative to be there. So it's inconclusive. However, I think the DA, whether it wants to or not, is getting a sense of the pulse of black people. For example, they say they have passed a resolution on minimum wages, but Carol Payton in an article today says it's doubtful, it's not clear that that was ever passed, and a number of the delegates spoke against it from the floor. So there's things like this that happen in a party that is much better run in some ways than the ANC. You know, they pride themselves on starting on time and all these sorts of things, so that to have doubt as to whether the resolution has passed is very unusual. So maybe I've forgotten what the question was in the beginning, but I hope I've answered it more or less.
Yeah. Now the DA has also adopted its recall clause, which
Yes.
Patricia de Lille says or thinks is aimed at getting rid of her. Do you think it is?
I think it is precipitated by de Lille's failure to abide by what the leadership wants. But someone was saying it's it's more or less the same as expelling someone without going through the processes, but you're not really expelling someone, you're withdrawing them from a position. So I think it is aimed at Patricia de Lille, and we'll see.
Now, Mmusi Maimane also said that the DA didn't have a choice and that next year they wanted to lead Gauteng. Do you think that they will be able to next year?
Well, it depends on the one hand on what has happened in the Gauteng ANC. In my view, for some time, the Gauteng ANC was comprised of very mature people who had been in the struggle for a long time, who were very experienced in organizing door-to-door and thorough organization, so that for them to lose Johannesburg and Tshwane was a little bit of undermining of that understanding of mine. So I don't know what the state of the organization is. What it is, I was going to say whether it's okay in Joburg and not in Pretoria, but they lost both of them. So we don't know. And obviously they were very scared after what happened, and they may get the act together. But the fact that the ANC has been weakened does not mean that they can replicate, the DA and the other parties can replicate what they did in 2016. EFF is also, both the DA and the EFF, I should have said this earlier, there's an identity crisis for both of these organizations, in the sense that most of the mileage that they have made as parties, especially the EFF, has been in relation to Zuma. Now Zuma is no longer president, and Ramaphosa is doing everything he can to distance himself from the legacy of Zuma. So I don't know, I wouldn't like to predict what it will be, but it's by no means as clear, despite the impressive and confident way in which Mmusi Maimane put across the priority of taking Gauteng. To translate that into an actual victory is another matter.
Now, Maimane also believes that this was the party's most successful Congress, but you just said that there were a lot of things that were unclear during the Congress. So do you think it was a successful Congress?
Well, I can't compare. I didn't watch others as closely as I watched this one. Well, I won't say I watched every second. I didn't actually. I watched a little bit on enca.com website, but I followed on the media, on the tweets and things like that. My sense is that it was a successful Congress, but it was ambivalent. Now, all Congresses tend to be ambivalent, and the ones that are not ambivalent are really tend to be fakes, with some getting 99% of the vote. So I think the DA is a changing party. The whites who are in leadership are trying to resist this, in my view. That's why they hold on to these positions of power at the top, but there's a bubbling underneath. So there's a battle on the go for the DA, and it can't be solved in a Congress. It gets solved through organization.
Thanks for speaking with us, Professor.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Policy about the DA's Federal Congress.